Women live. It's Kay Adams, Denise Welsh, Kelly Brook and Nadia Sawalha.
Hello, welcome to Loose Women. It's Friday! Coming up, you heard the song, How Will I Know If He Really Loves Me? But is it ever okay to say it if you don't mean it? Find out why a confession from our very own Casey on the latest Loose Women podcast has sparked a big debate. Also today we're talking deathbed conversations. Is it ever acceptable to lie to someone before they die, even if it's to make them feel better? That's at 1 o'clock. Then...
I shoplifted blue eyeliners, clothes, Morgan tops. I remember finding it really exciting and feeling like I'd gotten away with it. You know, when you walk out the shop.
Documentary maker Stacey Dooley will be here. She'll be telling us about confronting shoplifters, raising a toddler and why she owes other mums an apology. But first today, women over 65 are making up more of Britain's workforce than ever before. But is it because they feel they have to due to the rising pension age, or is it because they want to? Now, Denise, this was an article that was... And I'm coming to you, of course, as the elder stateswoman of our panel here.
Oh dear, that's not going to go down well. From someone who lied about her age till last year. 10 years of a lie, not a year. 10 years.
Anyway, this journalist wrote, what kind of society are we that kindly grey-haired ladies are having to slave away in what should be their golden years, one might
Denise
wonder.
and Kay in toxic feud.
Some of the 60-something women will still be at work by choice, but in many cases, it's simply a question of financial necessity and by compulsion. The next line's a good one. Let's not forget that women in their 60s are often expected to look after grandchildren or their own elderly parents, sometimes both. And if they're compelled to remain at work, it will leave a gaping chasm in care. Is that not patronising?
Who wrote that? A woman?
What?
Did a woman write that?
A woman wrote that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
No,
Do you don't think it's patronising?
That is patronising. I think that the article itself is quite important to discuss, but the way that that is worded, kindly grey-haired women, is very patronising.
Need to get home and look after people.
But we are very fortunate to, I mean, thank God for this show. You know, we employ women from 25 to 85. It's a, you know, we're very lucky and quite.
We would be on the scrap heap, wouldn't we?
Well, I know, exactly. So I am very lucky that I do a job that I enjoy and I choose to keep working. But there are many people that I have spoken to, many people in the northeast where I'm from, of retirement age or so they thought, who have done a job most of their life that they don't like. They've done it to keep the wolf from the door and to feed their family, and admirably so. And it's not fair to keep moving those goalposts. So people prepare to retire at a certain age, and now it keeps moving. And that's devastating to these people. And I think that's who we're talking about. And I don't know how they can justify it.
Well, I mean, it is interesting to know that, you know, this was outlined in the Pensions Act 2011. So we have known for 14 or 15 years the way that it was going to be, that it was going to move to 66 for both men and women by October 2020. So it's equalised, because it used to be different for men than it was for women. It's now been equalised. And eventually it's going to move to 68.
Well, why don't they change it, Kay?
Because they can't afford it, because we're all living...
Why don't they take a little speck from the war budget and put it into looking after people in this country and looking after our pensioners? Because they seem to find money for every other bloody thing. Excuse my friend.
I think they might be trying to protect democracy, but, you know, but that is going to be a short-term measure, because hopefully we're all going to live longer. We're all living a lot longer, and some of us more healthy than others. I think we have a real problem with the health of people, and we need to help people with that. But if we're living longer in retirement and we're having fewer babies, there just aren't going to be enough young people who are economically active enough to keep the old people unemployed, and that is the brutal reality of it.
But it's so unfair, isn't it, when people are pushed out of the job? We were just talking to somebody, weren't we, from production, whose sister, who was still loving her job at 60 and was told that she couldn't work anymore. She was pension and out. And I think, when I think of my mum, you know, who's 87, and how she creates work all day for herself. She's always on the computer, always doing that need to work in some people. Not, and I have friends as well,
Yeah.
like that, who've like are just sick and tired. They've worked hard, they haven't enjoyed their job, and they want to get to the end. But I do think it's very brutal to make a person stop work
But that
when
also,
they
that
when they
applies
don't
to
want
men
to.
and women. There's lots of men who do jobs, you know, for 40, 50 years,
Yeah.
and they bloom and hate them, and they do them because they're trying to keep the family together.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not just a female thing. And what was interesting about that article is that then who's going to care for people if women are still working?
Yeah.
I do
It's
think
hard
there's-
work caring
But
for
the thing
people.
is, there is so much ageism in the workplace,
Yeah.
isn't there, in
Yeah.
general? And I remember, you know, over the years, I've worked with some fantastic senior people that I've learnt so much from, only for them to lose their jobs and make way for a younger generation that have less experience, that are coming through.
And they're cheaper.
Because they're cheaper. They've just been made completely redundant because people don't want to pay them what they've worked their whole life to be paid, and I just think that's outrageous.
The other thing
there
is
should
so
be a place
hot, so-
in the workplace for older people that have, you know, come up, that they've learnt their trades, that, you know, they're at the top of their game, and then all of a sudden just to be sidelined. I just think that's outrageous.
And the other thing
Tragic
is
that Denise
people,
is going to leave after this show, isn't it?
people working until they're 68, but what's happening is as well, and we discussed it on a show the
How
other
old are
day.
you just now?
Is that I'll be 67 in May. Thank you.
So can you see yourself
Oh, God, I'm
retiring?
talking. I've lost my thread now. It's the fact that I can't even remember what I was saying.
Is that an age thing, Denise?
They're making it technically so difficult for people of 68 to work because people don't understand what's going on. We're ousting the older generation, but expecting them to work for longer, whereas we don't even let them go to the blooming till in a supermarket anymore because of all the digital stuff.
This is it. There's nowhere for them to
They're
go.
asking me to ask the audience, who here, men and women, would still like to be working at 68?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Good night,
people.
Kay Adams. Thank you very much.
OK, would you like still to be working at 68?
That's because I like my job,
No,
even
no.
though I work
Is
with
your
you
hand up or down?
amazingly.
Is your hand up or down?
That's a private conversation.
Oh, let's move on. If you thought that was a load of rubbish, wait till you hear the next lot. Quite literally, especially, actually, this is not funny, especially for the residents of Birmingham at the moment. My goodness. They are living through what is called a so-called bin-mageddon. This is following strikes by refuse collectors. They had an emergency bin collection yesterday, and some residents were seen chasing the bin lorries down the streets with full wheelie bins, emptying out cars filled with black sacks and streets piled with rubbish.
Wow.
Rats.
Rats. Cat-sized rats seen roaming the city night. Is there a rat in there?
That's a cat.
No, that's a cat. That is a cat.
That's a cat.
It's not a rat the size of a cat.
No, but there are apparently cat-sized rats, and there's fights there. I mean, they had this in Edinburgh a couple of years ago at the time of the festival, and it wasn't as bad as that, I have to say. But even as bad as it was horrible. You know, unless you're actually in that sort of state.
Oh,
it's
can't imagine.
Horrendous.
because it just feels that everything is crumbling
Christmas
down.
is bad enough when they're not there for a few weeks, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I just think, like, if you talk to the Brits about weather or bins, that's the most passionate thing.
Yeah.
And because I live next door to my mum and dad, so they come round a lot, but the first thing we always discuss is the bins, like whether they were taken, whether the garden bin was taken, you'd put something in the wrong bin. Well, I mean, don't forget, I was Binder Woman. I was out there fighting for the locals. Do you remember when they dressed me up as Binder Woman here? Oh, there you are.
there she is.
That's it.
They had problems in your area, didn't they?
We had problems in my area.
And it looked as if you really sorted it out, Nadia.
They came that day after the show and took my bins. Yeah, but we do get passionate about it. You're passionate about it.
I was living in a flat for a bit, and we were sharing bins with these teenagers that would just put like pizza boxes, all sorts in there, no lid, not bagged up. And one morning I got up really early to come to work and it was just crawling with maggots. It traumatised me so much that now I have this guy, Dean, he's so lovely. He comes every 3 weeks with his power washer. And he washes the bins and I get different flavours. It can be bubble gum one week.
What, do you lick them?
He knocks on the door and goes, Kelly, do you want to come and sniff your bins? I'm like, oh, I'll be right out, Dean. It's our little thing.
believe
And I
this.
go out, he opens the lid, I have a little... Yeah, it's lovely.
I think Dean's into
Lovely.
something else, quite frankly.
Honestly, I cannot
I'm
with
just
bins.
wondering
We're
if Dean
obsessed.
does any other bins.
I know.
Or it's just your bin.
Yeah. I never think to
Favourite smell?
I do like the lemon and lime. He's got variety, so it
Does
depends
he?
what time of year. Sometimes we go for a cinnamon scented one
Oh.
when it's Christmas time.
Oh, nice. Well, I always clean out all my yoghurt pots, all my tins. Do you, Denise? Anyway, shall we move on? Coming up next, the hot debate sparked by a confession of our Katie on the Loose Women podcast. Is it OK to say I love you if you don't mean it? These three all have. And as actor, the White Lotus actor Patrick Schwarzenegger models new lingerie for grooms. Did you make an effort on your wedding night to garter or not to garter? That is the question. Do you want this back, by the way? We'll see you in a few.